Hello everybody, Microspec Gamer here. So today I'll be doing another tier list, this time for the engineer. Before I did for the heavy, pyro, medic, and scout. So I'll be doing another tier list, and this time, this guy doesn't have many weapons. I actually did not notice that for quite a while. Engineer probably lacks many weapons. He's one of those classes who didn't receive many weapons. I can guess why, the balancing issues with a new ranch maybe. But so far we still don't have a level 4 sentry or some other type of sentry aside from mini sentry or the stock sentry. So I'll be discussing which one is best here or which tier. NG-tastic is pretty much almost a direct upgrade to a direct upgrade weapon. Then super is just a very solid weapon. Good, the ones that are kind of average. Meh is weapons that you should probably not use as much, but they can still be beneficial to you. And the one for avoid, I would probably not use at all. Which you might already know which one it is if you guys are an NG main or you've played engineer enough. So first of all, let's see what I have right here. First of all will be the primary, secondary, and the melee weapons. First of all, the Rescue Ranger. This one, it was nerfed. It was very good before the nerf, but now it's still very good. And it's good for engineers that turtle on one area if they don't want to be in nearby a sentry. Spies are still very dangerous though, and if you want to use this weapon, you should probably pair yourself with a Homewrecker Pyro so you can prevent your buildings from being zapped. This would be very good with Pyro. It does give engineer a new meta to actually being able to teleport his weapons, or not weapons, but his buildings from one area to another, although it does cost 100 metal. And it makes him very flexible. Although you have to remember, you have less ammo, and kind of hard to decide which one. I think I'll put it on super, just because it's not really good in combat. It also can be reflected by pyro, so you have to remember that. But you have so many new mechanics and abilities with this weapon, which you cannot in any other primary weapon. The thing is about engineer, he has lots of gimmicks and very good ones actually in that. This one is pretty good as a utility weapon. One of the only primary utility weapons. Usually it's more the melee weapons that are utilities. This one is pretty good if you want to use this one combined with the Wrangler. Pretty good combo. But you should probably have a pyro because by zapping it, your sentry and you're done. The next one will be the Frontier Justice. And this one, it was buffed. It's actually better than what it was before. This is still one of the best engineer weapons. It gives you 3 crits, 2 crits if you manage to kill someone with a sentry, or 1 crit as an assist. Before it was just 1, now it's 2. It's pretty ridiculous. You can pretty much crit farm with this weapon. I would call this one of the best weapons. Definitely better than stock if you have a sentry placed. But engineer should have a sentry regardless, because he's pretty much a worse scout without a sentry. So if you guys don't have a sentry, just remember you're an engineer, not a scout, or not any other other class. And you should probably have a sentry placed at all times if you have this weapon. The next one is the stock shotgun. It's pretty good, but compared to the other ones, it's pretty minimal. It's not bad. It's still solid. Engineer is so good. I pretty much gave him. Usually super will be here. This is far better than most of the other weapons for other classes. Pretty much a tier beyond just an upgrade. That's how I feel about the Frontier Justice here. This one is pretty solid. It has consistent damage. Better than the Rescue Ranger, but worse than... It's not as good as for utility. And you don't get any benefits if you use it with a sentry. The next one is the Widowmaker. And this weapon, it depends if you're a professional or if you're not. You have to aim very well with this. Also take note, if you hit disguise spies, you cannot gain ammo back. This weapon uses 30 ammo, but you can also gain 30 ammo by hitting them. But it has to be sword hits, depending on the amount of damage you do. So this one, I'll put it right here. It's a sword. It's a very solid weapon. Once you play Engineer more often, your aim gets better, and you can pretty much, you don't even have to reload. That's a huge benefit. I mean, you don't have much ammo to begin with, because you have to use that ammo for sentries, but it's technically, you have infinite ammo if you can aim well. Against heavies, it's pretty good. The Widowmaker is one of the best weapons for Engineer, if you want to be an offensive Engineer, an aggressive one. The next one will be the Panic Attack, and this is not that good for Engineer. This is actually, I would put it right here. I guess you can use it against spies to counter them, but it's better to have the consistent damage, because you might need that range. Engineer usually doesn't fight people up close in most cases, unless if it's in a small map, but I would consider taking this one instead. The Panic Attack is maybe better against heavies, but if you don't want to risk missing. But I would say use the Widowmaker or use a stock shotgun in that case. Or just the Frontier Justice, which would kill almost any class in 2 shots. I'll just use this weapon instead. It's probably the best option here. Unless if you guys want to have the support. The next one is the Palm Zone. And this one, avoid at all costs. It's almost as bad as the Bison for a soldier. It's very good against medics and spies, but you have better alternatives on the secondary and the primary or the melee weapons to actually face off spies. Plus, I'm gonna get into one of them later. So the next one is the Short Circuit. Now, I forgot to mention, guys, the Thompson 3000 has a projectile weakness. It's very slow, despite not being able to air blast it. It's just a very slow and easy to dodge projectile. So it's the same issue with that and the Bison for soldier. And it's a primary, so it takes even more for the Engineer actually. The Short Circuit is super. It consumes ammo, but it prevents you from projectiles destroying your sentry, like a demoman or a soldier. Also, it destroys pretty much, I'm not sure if it actually destroys huntsman arrows. I think it might be. Anything that's projectile, I think it does destroy it. Also, it does more damage when you right click. It actually does more damage to whoever shoots the explosive, or usually explosives, and actually damage them more. So it's pretty good for pressuring the enemy. And you should use it when you're near a dispenser, because you're gonna run out of ammo pretty quickly. And left click, I guess it's good against spies maybe, but pretty risky. That's why you should always have a pyro nearby you, which is a pyro assistant for Engineer. Now the pistol. This one, it depends on how you want to play, but this is the best, one of the best secondaries, if not the best one. It has 200 ammo. You don't even need, I don't think you will need a dispenser for a while. Engineer has the most ammo in the game when it comes to the pistol. Kind of ridiculous. He has more ammo in a pistol than the minigun for heavy. That's how crazy it is. This pistol has more ammo than a minigun, which doesn't make any sense, but then again, it's Team Fortress 2. So if you guys need to kill someone from a distance, but you don't want to waste the ammo for your primary or have range, you'll pretty much outlast anyone in a gunfight if you manage to actually avoid the bullets or the projectiles in this case. Now the Wrangler. This one, easily top tier, not even a question. It makes Engineer's sentry take 66% less damage, and also you shoot far faster. I don't remember the percent here. I'm actually gonna see right now. It does double firing rate, so 100% firing rate when you actually control it. That is overpowered. Like, this is one of the most broken weapons ever. Even in Saxton Hill, it will take Saxton at least 2 to 3 shots to actually destroy a sentry. The only downside is that it doesn't automatically auto-track because it depends on your aim, and it also deactivates if you if you don't equip it anymore. Like there's a short time frame between it being activated and not. Also, it's good against countering spies if you know whoever a spy is or where they are. So that can also help. But also you can actually sentry jump with this. So this is probably the best secondary in the game, I would say. Yeah, the best secondary in Team Fortress 2 is right here. No doubt about it. Once the sentry is placed, this is just way too powerful. It can defeat a Brass Beast Heavy point blank. That's how overpowered it is. And it will actually outdamage him because of the reduced damage. So yeah, guys, if you use Engineer, try using this the most you can. Unless if you... The only weakness I can see to it is that it's pointless without a sentry. But with a sentry, become almost like a more powerful heavy. The sentry becomes a more powerful heavy in that case, which is crazy. Just immovable. So the next one is the... Well, this one actually, I don't know where to put it exactly because it's kind of a mixed bag for me. It's... So the Southern Hospitality, this one I would put it at... Actually not that bad. From what I know, it causes 6-second bleed, which is not too bad. Actually 5 seconds, that was a mistake. 5 seconds of bleeding. So this can be used against spies. I'll actually put it in super. Like this is... Most of the Engineer's weapons are better than the average. That's how crazy it is. This one is... The only weakness to it is that Engineer takes 20% more fire damage, but you should never fight a pyro in the first place up close, unless if you maybe surprise them. But in this case, you have so many other options. You have the Frontier Justice, which would two-shot them, or the Widowmaker, which will also if you just meat-shot them up close, it will kill them almost instantly. You should never use this weapon unless, I guess, if like it is one of the best ones. I can just say that it's one of the best melee weapons. I guess if you fight maybe a bunch of pyros and you're missing ammo, this is pretty much going to be worse than the stock wrench. And now for the stock wrench. This one is surprisingly a bit weaker. I see a bunch of people using this one more because of their Australian, but you can't deny it, guys. The weakness on this wrench is kind of irrelevant for Engineer. It's pretty much like if you give... it's like the same thing about giving a scout a weapon that they pretty much have to avoid. Like for instance, a projectile damage. For instance, the candy cane. That was one of them. That's similar to this one. But I mean, the difference is Engineer should always be near a sentry, so you should probably use the Southern Hospitality more often. Because the downside is almost not bad at all. Also, no random critical hits. I guess that's one major weakness to it, but no random critical hits. You should not always rely on crits. They're pretty random. Now, the Eureka Effect. And this one, the Eureka, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Eureka Effect is probably my favorite. I'm going to be biased on this one. I'm sorry, guys. But it's kind of hard to decide which one. I would put it actually in between these two right here. So this one immediately is one of the best just because it gives Engineer the ability to teleport himself to anywhere he puts his exit at, which pretty much makes Engineer a ninja. It makes him a completely different class, like a subclass. It completely changes his game style. You can place a teleporter also for half the price, and it takes half the. So yeah, it says right here. Okay, so not actually half the price, but it's actually negative 50% the metal cost of upgrading a teleporter. So you can benefit yourself and your teammates a lot with this one. Just that it takes longer to build stuff, but I'm gonna talk about the next one, why it makes it kind of irrelevant. The weakness of this one kind of irrelevant. And I just feel like the teleportation this one is way too great. the taking more damage when you carry stuff and actually deploy it is not too bad. But I feel like the Eureka Effect is far better than its downside here. Now the Gunslinger. Pretty popular and pretty annoying. Arguably my favorite, probably one of my favorite ones. Obviously for defense, for offense. And it gives you a melee sentry which costs almost nothing. If you have the Widowmaker, you can pretty much build endless amount of them. And this one is arguably, I would say, the best one if you want survival, if you want the survivability. It gives you 25 health more than the usual. Makes you as tanky as a medic, which is a pretty big deal for engineer. Especially in offense, you do need that health. Be a bit tankier than a scout because you don't have that speed. You're sacrificing a lot of firepower for your offense ability, which completely changes the engineer's meta from defensive character to offense. Except that he's actually support, but still. I would count him as more of defense and supportive defense, but now he's more supportive offense with this one. It's pretty good. Also, you hit the person 3 times in a row, it's a guaranteed crit, which means you can kill an overhealed heavy most likely if you hit them. Otherwise, for anyone else, 3 shots usually kills them anyway. So now for the last weapon, I'm not going to put it at the Void because this is definitely not as bad as the Pumpston here. This one is the best weapon if you guys are on defense and you're waiting for the enemies on casual. Just saying to you right now, this weapon, it becomes, the Jag is just too good. The minus, like the soul repair rate and the damage penalty, it also do less damage against buildings, but that doesn't really matter. Who hits a building with a melee weapon as an engineer? That's kind of pointless. So most of them are kind of irrelevant. Also, guys, this is probably the best if you want to build up buildings as quickly as possible. So just to make it better, once you finish the buildings on the minute you have to build them, you can just switch it up and you have everything placed already. You can just switch up to any of these 3 and you pretty much removed all the downgrades to this one. This kind of makes the Jag pretty much only good for a pre-fight or pre-round. And it pretty much makes it kind of irrelevant afterwards, but it's really good to just switch them in between the round. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me if you disagree or agree with my my list here. And yeah, as I said before, the Jag is pretty much irrelevant after the fight starts, but before it starts, you pretty much should just build it up with buildings with this one and then switch it up. Any of these are better than the Jag. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.